Welcome everyone to the March edition of the Power BI user group from Vancouver. Super excited tonight to be having Imke Feldmann join us from Germany. But I don't believe she's actually quite here yet, but that's all cool. Oh wait, no, I think she just showed up. Hey, there you are. Hey Imke, how you doing?
Morning. Good evening. Good evening to you.
It's always good when the featured speaker arrives on time. We love that. All right. So I'm just going to run a quick intro here. We'll get Joseph kicked off with the what's new in Power BI that he's had all of about 7 hours to prepare for here with the new Power BI dropping, and then we're going to turn it over to Imke at about 20 after-ish or so. So before we jump in and get started, once again, we always like to say a big thanks to the speakers. Excel Guru is my company that organizes this and puts this all together. Also SkillWave, which is our training division. I do want to throw one thing out. We don't usually throw out stuff like this, but we actually made a huge announcement at SkillWave just a little while ago. We have actually released a brand new full new overhaul web review of what we've done, a brand new website for what we're dealing with. For everybody that actually buys courses from us, you now get a cool dashboard that you can get into here with all the different courses that we have, including a brand new one here that we just released at the beginning of this week on designing impactful reports by Reed Haven in Power BI. Some really cool stuff. I learned some great tricks in this. Our Power Query Academy is here. We've got a fully integrated forum that integrates with our videos and everything else. If you haven't checked out SkillWave, please do so. We've got some really cool material here and teach you how to be a rock star with Power Query and DAX and all the cool fun things that work around Excel and Power BI. Well, thank you, Win, for the very swish website meme. I appreciate that. Also, of course, big thanks to Microsoft that supports us with software and with help and finding speakers and all kinds of fun stuff there. And just a little hat tip to my Excel add-in, Monkey Tools, which helps you build some of these Power BI models. Build better, faster is our motto here. If you haven't seen that and you're building models in Excel, you should really check it out. Our next tracks that we have coming up here for meetups in Excel track and on April 8th, we're welcoming a first-time speaker. Al Chen is going to be joining us, and he's going to be showing us how to build a VBA script to fill values down. Now, this is something that, as many of you who know me, know that I would reach to Power Query to do this. But one of the interesting little hurdles I think that Al's going to actually throw at us here is that he's actually doing this on a PC that runs on a platform other than Windows. And that makes Power Query very difficult to use. So there's going to be some cool little hurdles that are in place in here for him to do this. So I hope that people will join us, welcome a first-time speaker, and give them support along the way. Also coming up, the next time we do our Power BI, our famous lead in here who does our What's New is going to be doing the full-length presentation. That's going to be Joseph. We're going to be back at our regular starting time of 6 p.m. on the West Coast.
No, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Let's do it again.
You want to go 10? Okay, we can make that happen.
No.
I'm like, dude, you're building financial statements. That puts people to sleep anyway. Are you sure you want that pressure?
Totally. No, 6 p.m. is good. Sorry. Carry on.
All right. So Joseph's going to be giving us a cool building financial statements with Power BI and DAX. So that'll be coming up. Now, on that note, though, Joseph, of course, usually does our What's New in Power BI, so we thought it would be kind if we could actually push that role off to someone else. We are still looking for a speaker to do the What's New in Power BI. If you'd like to do that, it's a fun time. You get all of, sometimes between 2 days and 7 hours worth of notice. Sometimes you don't even get a Power BI release at all, so you just get to tell us about your favorite things. Honestly, we're easy. It's basically a 10 to 20 minute presentation to show us what the newest things are that you think are really cool. We love first-time speakers, and we'd highly encourage people to join up. If you're interested and you want to have a go at that, please send an email to Rebecca, and we will get you hooked up. The other thing that I want to throw out here is if you came to our Excel meetup earlier in the month here, we announced that we actually have Oz de Soleil is going to be coming, and I know Oz is here tonight with us. Oz is going to be doing a cool session on cooking with Oz. This is a lesson in Excel creativity, and we have a really cool survey. If I could paste the link, there we go, perfect, is in the chat. We would love to get your impressions on the mystery ingredients that Oz needs to use in order to build his creative solution. That is coming up. Oh yeah, that's going to be coming up the meeting after next. And but all of this is a user choice kind of thing, and we're going to go and pop these on Oz, and then he's got a month to go and try and figure out how the heck to put these things together, and then is going to give us a session on not only what he built, but how he thought through the process and whatnot. So it's all about creativity and whatnot. It's going to be lots of fun. So please fill out the survey as many times as you want with as wild and wacky suggestions as you can come up with. Hey, Win says you're
Index
getting
match
mad just so that he can see you use them because he doesn't think you know how. So there you go.
I'll come back down there to person and show it right in his face. But the link is going to a blank screen for me.
I sent you a different one, Oz. Is this one going to a blank screen?
Yeah, the one in the chat is going to blank screen.
Okay. You know what? We will troubleshoot that. If anybody else is having a blank one, I will make sure that we get that sorted. It's always fun trying to use Microsoft Forms, especially when you're trying to sort it out or fill out outside your organization. I know that it's coming through for some people because we have had some submissions. Jason says his works. You know, Oz, it's going to be a tenant issue somehow on things here. We'll work through it though. Promise. We are getting results, and definitely we'd love people to fill that out.
Cool.
I promise I'll leave you with ingredients, Oz, not make you come up with your own ingredients too. The last thing I want to throw out here before I turn this over to Joseph to get the evening started here is if you are interested in presenting, we're always looking for people to speak at our upcoming meetups here. We definitely like to get new speakers. We want to hear about the projects you're working on, show us cool samples and inspire people. If you would like to do something, there's no need to do a full session. You can do a shorter session, a lightning talk, 15, 20 minutes. We'll work it out. If you're interested, shoot us a note here, fill out this survey at xlguru.ca/speakatmanpug, and we would love to get you onto our platform. On that note, I believe that my public service announcements are done. So what we're going to do is I'm going to relinquish the floor here to Joseph. Joseph, are you ready to show us what you've been able to put together in a crash course in Power BI?
Well, I was going to say, so for whoever does step up for next month, I'm focusing mostly on February today. Didn't have a lot of time to look at the March update, obviously. So you're guaranteed to have an update to present on, and you have a whole month to put it together. So yeah,
it's not a hard job at all, is it?
No. I'm trying to do the soft sell, I think they call it.
All right, excellent. We can see your screen, my friend. You are good to go.
Awesome. So thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ken. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I know that sort of before we get started, we always go around and we ask where people are from, what time it is, and even though we've been doing this for getting close to a year now virtually, I'm just blown away. I think it's so cool that we get people from all over the world coming in and looking at Power BI, looking at Excel, looking at cool data stuff. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Hey, on that note, Joseph, too, I just wanted to throw this out. I think you see the notifications for this as well as I do. I believe for tonight, I mean, not that there's any pressure on this, Imke, but I believe that we actually have our highest registration ever for this particular meetup. And I think we had 220 people that actually confirmed for it. So,
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's awesome. Well, with that, I'll try my best not to screw this up too much then, and I'll just pass it on to the presentation everyone registered to see. But what we were saying at first, the March release of Power BI Desktop just came out earlier today. So the bulk of what I'm going through is actually going to be the February release, which didn't come out in time for the previous meetup that we had. We'll go over just very quickly some of the March stuff, but yeah, we'll leave that for next month for whoever's doing the what's new in Power BI then. But just before we get into that, oh, what has happened? There we go. Just before we get into that, for anyone who's new, anyone's not been here before, my name's Joseph Yates. As Ken said earlier, I typically do the what's new in Power BI here at the Vancouver Power BI meetup group. I have my website and my blog, feathersanalytics.com, where I blog about all things really Power BI, Power Query, a little bit about R, and how we can bring these tools together. I have my Twitter handle up there at Feathers Analytics and my LinkedIn as well. So if you want to connect, talk about anything that you see today, anything really to Power Query, Power BI, Excel, anything in general, I love connecting, love chatting, whether it's on LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, all good. Would love to connect with the community. With that, why don't we jump in and we can look first at the February feature summary. So every month when new Power BI comes out, new Power BI features comes out rather, there's an accompanying blog post. So if you want to stay up to date with all the new features in Power BI, definitely check it out. They divide all the new features into different sections. So we have like reporting here at the top and some of the new features in there, which we'll cover in just a few minutes, analytics, data connectivity, etc. So I'm going to have time to cover a few of my favorites from this list today. But if you want to go in more detail, not only is there a blog post about it, but if we scroll down, there's also a YouTube video as well. So anything piques your interest or you're just interested in learning about the full feature list, definitely check out this blog. And as I said, March 2021 feature summary was released today. It always seems to happen. It always seems like we're playing a fun game of how little time does the feature release happen before the what's new in Power BI. Not going to have time to go over many of these features today, but one of the ones that I think is really cool is the new release or the new update to DAX, and calculate filters are now way easier to use. The basic example they used of previously when you tried to add filters in a calculate statement, you had to actually add explicit table filter. You'd have to wrap the filters in like a filter and an all statement. And so syntax that you think should work and you know, it makes sense, but it didn't work. Now it does. And I think this is really cool. Can't wait to jump into this and dig into this a little bit deeper as well. But let's jump into Power BI without further ado, and we'll go over some of my favorite features from the February release. So the first one was an update to the anomaly detection feature. I covered this a few months ago, and before to use this feature, you had to go into the visualizations pane, select a line chart visual or one of your visuals, go to the magnify glass, and right down at the bottom here was the find anomalies, and you can add that. So as is sort of typical with Power BI, some of its best features really hard to find when they first release it. But what's happened this month is now when we select a line chart visual, we can go to the data drill tab on the ribbon, and now the button is right here. We have a big find anomalies button in a little AI section on the data drill tab on the ribbon. And now when I select that, it pops it onto the visual. Just going to have to update it slightly to get a little bit more sense in it. There we go. So now we have a sensitivity interval of about 95%. And if there were anomalies in our data, we'd be able to call this out quickly. So feature that I reviewed a few months ago, but now way easier to access, more apparent, easier to find. And on the topic of being easier to find, although there is a great big button now, and that's great, not actually such a big deal because we have a search bar. Never had this before in Power BI. As I said, some of the features are kind of buried. You really need to know what you're looking for. You need to expand a pane, you know, go to paint roller, scroll down, open a section, and maybe there's something that you want in there. Now, if I want to just type in like new, I don't know where, maybe I don't know where to create a new table, a new column, new visual. I can just do this by typing in exactly what I want. If I want to connect to like a SQL source, maybe I don't know how to do that on the ribbon or where that is. I can just type that in, hit SQL Server, and it pops up the ability to connect to SQL Server database. I can do this with things like themes as well. If I'm not sure where on the ribbon I want to adjust my themes, I can do it right from the drop down in the search bar as well. All the same functionality is there as when I go to the View tab on the ribbon and hit the drop down from themes here. And even things like bookmarks, I can do that. When I select that, it's just like selecting the icon on the ribbon and it pops it up the right now. So this makes such a great user experience. I think you don't need to know exactly where everything is, as long as you know that the feature exists, or maybe if you just think maybe the feature exists, we can search it and you're navigated right to it, or it just pops up for you. So I think this is great improvement. I think this is an awesome feature. One of my other favorites from this month is already an update, and in March there are even more updates to the small multiples functionality in some of the visuals. So small multiples is, if I recreate this, we can start with a column chart with a measure in our values, and we have some sort of attribute for maybe one of our dimension queries, dimension tables on the axis. But rather than just looking at balance by client age, for example, maybe I want to see that distribution by all of our distinct products. So now I can take our product category, and rather than put it in legend, where it's kind of tough to really pull out any insights from this, rather than legend, I can drop that into our small multiple. And actually, instead of product category, let's go account product. I think that's what I had before. And now we can see by each of our 5 distinct account and product types, we can see the balance distribution across all of our age groups. So covered this feature before last month or 2 months ago when it came out, and there's some enhancements to it already. So if I just make this a little bit bigger, I'm going to go to the Format tab in the Visualizations pane, and I'm going to go to Grid Layout. I'm just going to drill down there. And now we can add grid lines between all of these visuals in the small multiples. So if I want to add borders and grid lines to everything, it just makes it a little bit easier to see the separation between all of our different visuals. Maybe I just want to separate them horizontally, can separate them vertically, or just do sort of the classic all grid lines. And if I go back out, just makes it a little bit easier to see with some of that space in between the visuals. We can also add and have more control over the background color within the visual as well. So I'm just going to blow that up again. If we want to add like a nice purple background, maybe, and let's set the transparency to 75. Now we can see not only the grid lines, but the background color creates that separation between all of the small multiple visuals as well. So I think this makes for visuals easier to look at, easier to interpret, and distinguish exactly what we're looking at. And when it comes to adding things like color and picking a color for background, we actually have an improvement to the color picker experience in Power BI. So just selecting the drop down of background color in this example, but really same thing in any of the color pickers. Now we have this nice big pop out, nice big color palette that we can choose from. Really obvious, nice and big, we can see it clearly. And when I go to more colors now, we have the ability, like we did before, to type in the hex code, type in the RGB code as well. And also we can just drag the nice little circle around to pick our color exactly, and we can get that output as well. So a lot easier to customize either visuals or colors within visuals to exactly what we want. If we don't have a corporate template to rely on, we can go in and we have a lot easier control over some of those color options as well. I'm just going to come back out of there. And then the last feature I wanted to cover today is a new type of filter, within Power BI. And if I just open the filters pane, and from my client table, I'm going to drop client type to be a filter of the page. So we can see that within client type, we have a few different options. We have youth, young adult, regular, golden, and this blank looking option. And if I go to the Power Query editor and bring that up, and I go to my client dimension, we can actually see that it's not a blank, it's a lot of different spaces. So let me just zoom into that. We have, what happened there? Oh, my windows, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, but rather than just being blank, like it's not a null value, it actually is just an empty string. It's just a few spaces there. So if I wanted to change this client type filter to is blank, which was before, so I want to filter is blank and apply, no values are returned because that value isn't actually blank, like it's an empty string. Now we have the ability to filter by is empty or is not empty. So if I hit it is empty and hit apply, we can see that I actually do get values back. And this can be really helpful when we're working with data from source systems, particularly fields that have been user input, like client email. Instead of leaving it blank, it's a required field. So the user types in a space so they can, submit an application. Not that anyone ever does that, but anyone who works with data knows that users do all sorts of crazy things that we have no control over. So gives us a little bit more control again over filtering down rather than needing to do any further manipulation within the Power Query editor or even in some of our filters in our report as well. So those are my favorite features from the February release. I covered a little bit about the update to the calculate feature in DAX as well from the March release, but really excited to see the what's new in Power BI presentation for next month because the March feature release was full of more updates and some great features as well. But with that, that's me done. I'm really happy to send it over, but now send it back to the feature presentation for the evening. And I know that BI Accountant is a website I look at all the time when I get stuck. I've used tons of their articles, so I'm really excited for this presentation today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm really excited to get started.
Thanks, Joseph. Appreciate that. And that was a masterful job of giving the next presenter some material to work with right out of the gate there. So you don't even have to come up with stuff. Just use what's there. a
lot of thought and planning went into that. So thank you.
I'm sure it did. So, awesome. Well, you know what? At this point, I'm going to say it is my great pleasure to welcome my friend Imke to the presentation here. I bombed her an email, and I think she got back to me within 5 minutes to say, I've got a great presentation that I want to try out here. Here we go. This is going to be what it is. And I did promise Imke, though, that because this is her, I think her first run on this particular one, that I promised I would not record it because she wants to make sure that that's going to to be happening I think you said in a couple of weeks you're going to have your own version of this, right? So
yes,
I'm going to turn the recording off now. So there.